Okay, we'll call this meeting of the Stanley City Council, Tuesday, February 14th, 2023, 7 p.m. And we're going to start with the tax abatement hearing. Lakeside Storage. Oh, okay.
Good evening, everyone. Ben Laparne, owner of the building at 702 Westview Lane, which was previously Shopco, filed abatements for this property for the years 2021 and 2022. The building has been unoccupied since Shopco vacated it and suffered some water damage and broken pipes as well during this time. So after discussion with Ryan Eli from Vanguard, as well as Lori Hansen from the County Tax Director's Office, I am recommending applying a 30% obsolescence on the building for the vacancy period, as well as a 10% obsolescence for the damage done by the burst pipes. This results in a decrease of $449,700, giving a new value of $1,143,200 for the structure, and the land value stays at $200,900, and it has a total value of $1,344,100 for 2021 and 2022. Thank you.
Comments?
What are you looking at? I'm guessing that's for possible non-payment of taxes or late payment, but I would have to look at that.
I guess my comment is, once again, we're being asked to reduce our values, to lower the tax, to make for an easier sale. So it's sat empty for a couple of years. Also, the burst pipes, I guess I don't see where that's any taxpayer's responsibility to accept a lower value because they failed to keep their heat on or failed to call the city and ask them to turn the water off. My recommendation would be to deny.
I'll second that.
Is that a form of
Yeah.
a motion?
That's a motion, sorry.
Okay, and
Second on that.
Lauren seconds. All in favor?
No.
We should do roll call.
Oh, yeah, we better do a roll call on this.
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Chad.
All right.
Okay, motion carries to deny the tax abatement. Okay, next thing on the agenda is minutes. Has everybody looked over their minutes and checked them out?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign.
Aye.
Yep. Motion carries. Planning and zoning recommendations. Mr. Highbrighter.
Mr. Mayor, council members, we held our regular meeting last evening. First up, we had a public hearing for a rezone application from Sam Friddle at the corner of 403 3rd Street Southeast It's R1 right now, and he's got a conditional use for a multifamily. He's trying to sell the property, so he's trying to sell it with the multifamily tag attached to it. And we had Hod and Ruth Hischlin were present and spoke opposed to rezoning this to R4, which would be for multifamily. Ken Ranum appeared and was opposed. I relinquished the chair, and then I spoke as a landowner in that same block. I have a rental house, and I spoke against it also. And our biggest problem is that even in the last while now, while Sam has owned it, he's had it as a rental, and some of his renters are not top-notch, so the neighborhood has suffered because of that. And that was the main reason why the neighbors opposed a multifamily. Sam asked for a little recess to discuss with the property owners, the Hischlins and Mr. Ranum. And we took a 5-minute recess. We came back, some more discussion. And Sam had talked about withdrawing his request, but his wife said she would prefer to see us vote. So with that, we voted. There was a motion and a second and a vote to deny his application to rezone to the R4.
So your recommendation is deny.
Yes, sir. Yes. Our recommendation to you is to deny his application for a rezone change from R1 to R4 multifamily.
Move to accept the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Committee on the rezone application.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay, Ty seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. I don't think we have to go around on that one.
Yeah, it's a zoning issue.
Do we? I don't think so. It doesn't matter. We can take a roll call, but I don't think that's necessary on that.
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach.
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda.
Aye.
George.
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries to deny. So, okay, Todd, next item.
Our next item of business is conditional use permit for a water pump placement application. This being a reapplication of a permit that had been granted in the past. Mr. Wertz does not have to go through the public hearing, which was approved prior to most of you folks coming on, but it was a precedence that was set, and we are still following that because we haven't been told not to. Kind of just a deal that we have to do to approve it. He still has to follow the State Water Commission and all the rules and regulations that they set forth. And he has to get easements and permits for his lay flat pipes from the county, township and county. And because of that, we agreed to approve his application for the water use permit.
I'll move to approve the committee's recommendation for the water application.
Second.
Aye.
And then Mr. Wertz also came with another application for placing another pump. This is in a new location. The Nelson Hubbard properties have one already that we have gone through, but this is a brand new one in a new location where there is not ever been one. Because of that, this one must go through the conditional use permit, public hearing, and so we set a meeting for a public hearing for our next meeting to go over the permit.
Where
No.
is that Nelson Hubbard? Is that on the east side of the highway and then back to the south?
This one is actually, if I remember, it's more like by Gary Evans's property is where this permit is going in at. The other one is on the east side, west side of the highway, east of the gravel road on the south side of the reservoir.
Okay.
And Amanda said I said that right. It's over, this Nelson Hubbard land is right below Gary Nelson's house.
Right.
Or Gary Evans's house, excuse me. No, tongue tied.
It's
Yes,
Gary.
right below Gary's house. And that's all we had for last evening.
Okay,
Any other
thanks.
comments or questions?
Thanks,
Thank you.
Todd. Okay, Planning and Zoning Administrator report, and I beat you up there, so
I tried to walk really fast so I could
I
beat
seen
you,
that.
but you weren't supposed to see that.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. As you can see, we only have one permit so far. What it basically is they already had a permit for a detached garage. They decided they wanted the garage back a little bit further on their property, so they're going to pour another pad, which would be on the west side of the existing pad. And then once that's cured, they're going to move that garage back. That gives them just a little bit more driveway area.
Motion to approve permit.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second's been approved, made. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion carries. Building permit is good.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions from Amanda? With no other questions, thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
I did get even a little bit there, but that was just between you and I. Okay, next thing up, Chris Nordloff and Rec Center.
Push the button so the light turns green.
Good evening. I'm Chris Nordloff, for who doesn't know me here. I think most of you do. This is my wife, Whitney. We're here to talk about possibly getting a rec center in Stanley. I personally, I'm born and raised here. I've seen this town grow quite a bit. And I have 5 kids now that are just getting busy. And I speak for our young family and many young families that we're traveling everywhere right now for different sports, paying our money in different cities when we don't need to, I don't feel. I think when everybody hears rec center, they think of Watford City and think of $80 million. And I'm realistic, that's terrible. That's way too much money. We just, a basketball court is approximately 90 feet long by 50 feet wide. 3 of them is 150 feet long and 120 foot wide. You could build a building for 200 feet long by 120 wide, and you have 3 courts in there with extra space for gymnastics, for, anything. I think it's something that the community would really use, and you could bring in tournaments, you could bring in, that's money to the city. Your hotels are going to get filled. You can have just so many different things in a rec center. And like I said, it doesn't need to be an $80 million facility. I spend now a lot of my time with the youth, and I don't feel that youth is very important to this city. I go to the park and I just watch kids vape, and I think it's terrible. Like, I don't want to bring my children there to play basketball there because kids want to sit on the bench and vape. That's just, I'd rather have some place that, I mean, I honestly would volunteer a ton of my time to sit at a rec center and control people that would do things like that, try to destroy something like that. I already put a bunch of time into the fall. I coach football. In the spring, I coach track. I just hate going other towns, spending my money there when I feel like I can do it here with my kids. And a lot of people, I think, feel that way. And I think there's a lot of people that feel opposite of that. I'm definitely understanding that too. I mean, as far as like how to pay for it, I don't have that money. That's why I'm here. I don't know if we could raise taxes a little bit to help with something like that. But I mean, Tioga right now, I know 26 miles away is currently going to be building something like this. And I guess this is just our start of trying to get somewhere to get something like this for our youth and the community as a whole.
Well, Chris, I can understand you wanting this. I think it'd be a great thing for the city of Stanley. I do. And for the area. As a citizen of Stanley, I would support it, but as a mayor, I couldn't actually support it for the simple reason that here's how I view the city is the city government and the taxes are for infrastructure, and fire protection, ambulance protection, police protection. And that's pretty much what the schools, that's pretty much what the city of Stanley is about. As far as getting into real estate or trying to manage a building like that, I think you're going to be hard pressed to find, a city that wants to actually take over those burdens. I know of a couple cities that the oil companies actually built facilities in their towns and give it to the cities, actually free and clear. And they're amazing. I've been in them. They're amazing facilities. There's one had a water park and 3 Olympic pools inside. Plus there's a ball field out there that's like almost 40 acres, 20 acres of it is turf that they put in. So, I mean, this is multi-million-dollar facilities. And it was turned over to the city, but the city didn't have the revenue to hire the people to manage these places or to pay the maintenance or all the other costs that go along with it. And the revenue that they received from the use of these things didn't even cover a fraction of what the expenses were on these facilities. That's why I say I'd be really hard pressed as a mayor to support this unless I seen exactly, what this thing was going to cost and that it was another organization that was handling it. That it wasn't going to fall into the ownership of the city in any way. Or responsibility of the city. That's my personal feelings. I'm sure there's you guys got comments on this?
I did do a little bit of homework on this, and council people, you'll notice that I put a sheet in front of you. That is the Killdeer Rec Center. So now this isn't exactly a basketball court center. There's a small pool in there. There's no basketball court and a weightlifting room, aerobic exercise type room, a community room, and then like another room or two that you can rent for birthday parties, anniversary parties, things of that nature. I called down and visited with the individual that's in charge of that portion of the park district in Killdeer. And in 2016, they built that unit for $10 million. So that's 7 years ago now. And I'm guessing that obviously the pool isn't in the idea of what you guys are looking for. I mean, I don't think
We have
that there's a
aquatic
need for
center.
that. We have
Right,
that.
yeah, right.
Replace that with 3 basketball courts, so it's probably gonna be a fair trade, a dollar value, dollar wise. So just to kind of run down what he told me, so this is in the year 2022, these numbers were already completed by them. In the year 2022, they sold 15 memberships to their center there. Their day use, which that generated them about $8,200. Their day use generated them $15,220. And the rental of like the birthday party room, the swimming pool for birthday parties, what have you, that made up another $56,530, which brought up the facility to a total income of $80,000. The expenses for that facility was electricity at $42,000, gas at $32,000, their phone and internet service was $20,000. Maintenance on the building, which includes the pool, is $70,000. They have a manager of the building and 2 employees, so they have a total of 3 on their staff. That was $80,000, and they tried to keep their wages right around $25 an hour is what he told me, and they struggled to keep 2 of those positions filled at that rate. Which brings that total expense to $244,000. Now, mind you, that does not include the insurance, the water, sewer, or garbage for that building, so that it would be a little bit higher than that for the expenses. So just that alone netted them a loss of $164,000 that you have to make up somewhere above and beyond what it costs to build it at 10 million. And I'm guessing 7 years down the road, you could probably add a couple million to it. I mean, just with the increase of everything. Their average day use at the facility was 2.1 people per day. They've already closed the facility on Sundays because they averaged between 0 and 1 people using it on Sunday. In 2022, they sold 15 memberships, anywhere from a youth to a family. He didn't give me the breakdown on that. Do I think it's bad to have one here? Absolutely not. But somebody's got to do some soul searching and figure out how we can pay for this, because we can't just, you can't just keep lumping things onto the taxpayer.
Yeah, and I agree with that too. But I just think, like, as far as, what did you say they're paying someone to manage the place? Stuff like that. What'd you say?
Their staffing is $80,000 a year for 3 people.
And I think if you offer a free membership to a family, like, I mean, you can volunteer 4 hours of your time to be sitting up there and watching for free. Just a free membership. And I think you would find a lot of families that would bite on that, because their kids would be up there playing basketball the whole time they're sitting there.
So every taxpayer in Stanley is supposed to just support kids who want to play basketball?
No, we're not just saying basketball. Like
No,
I was
I
telling
mean-
Chris, we're taking our middle daughter or our youngest daughter to Powers Lake right now for a skills and agility thing. So, and I would love to get like a gymnastics here. It's a 6-week intervals that brings in money every 6 weeks. And there's,
And
we
North
can-
Dakota High School Association now has gymnastics.
So what does, if I can ask, how much more gym space does Powers Lake have than Stanley?
They have
I
their
don't know, I'm asking.
gymnastics in a little
In
old
like a,
town building. It's by their barn.
it's like a golden age club, pretty much.
So essentially though, they're pulling off additional activities with equal to or less than facilities than what we have in Stanley? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, this is just the skills and agilities. This is not the gymnastics. We can't get her into gymnastics because they have a list to, like none other.
But with the skills and agility, I mean, as an additional activity that you bring
Yes.
your daughters to, they're managing it up there with what they have?
That is, yes. But like another thing, I'm taking my oldest daughter to Newtown, Partial, Plaza, now Watford City to be on these traveling teams. So we're spending all of our money in all these different towns. Whereas he works for Mountjoy Williams, we could easily pack up and go to Newtown.
Like I said, it's a great idea. The only thing is the building of it.
Yep.
And I mean, right now, the hospital and nursing home's got a addition that's gonna be built on, so they're trying to raise funds for that. Great idea, because we need that too. The pool is trying to raise funds, to pay off the pool, so the park board doesn't have that burden. And we did borrow money to the park board on that, but that is totally a loan. And, I mean, we don't have the funds to put a lot of loans out like that. They were in a bind. And, that too is needed in town, that pool and stuff, but the problem with all this stuff is it costs a dang much money. But even if you get it funded and built initially, the cost afterwards is astronomical to keep this stuff heated and keep it up. So in a town the size of Stanley, that thing's got to be used a lot. I mean, would it be? I can't hardly see where it would be, utilized as much as what's going to take care of it to pay for all of that. Maybe it will. I don't know.
I mean, I know like winter months, the courts would be constantly used. But summer, a lot of people are gonna be going to the lake and doing stuff. And I understand that side of it too. I get that.
We saw the wrestlers who the parents had a passion for it. They started a wrestling club in Stanley. They formed their own 501c. They commit their time and their energy to it. They went through the city, they went through the county, they went through private donations to start something. I feel like if traveling parents wanted a basketball court that bad, then they can put together something privately to do that for. We have a lot of space. We're fortunate enough to have the fair building that can be rented out. And I guarantee, talking to the city about maybe even a deal, if somebody was serious about it, I bet they could get with the wrestling club about renting the building when the wrestlers aren't in there, the mats. We have space at the elementary school. I know Taekwondo used to do mats in there and have a space to where they could be. My daughter joined that one. I think that there's a lot of options. And then when you say kids are vaping at the park, you don't want to go there. So what happens when kids start vaping outside of the rec center? Do you not want to go there then? Because you have the option to call our Stanley PD and say there's underage smokers here and clear that out so that it is a family-friendly environment. So what happens when those same youth attend a rec center because their parents got a free membership because they would watch them? How is it okay if it's happening in our park and we're not willing to say anything or make a change, but there would be a difference at the rec center, but we're not willing to do it now at the park?
No, we did. We did call several people, and just like there's fights going down at the park all the time, they put surveillance cameras, they did whatever that they had to do. It's just not a safe environment that we want our children around.
And those same kids aren't going to be
No,
there
and I'm
because
not
we
saying
offer
that.
membership at the pool that they have, and we've had a huge issue with kids at the pool where parents weren't even able to take their kids. So I think those same issues are going to continue regardless of the building that it's at. And while I would love a rec center, I have a grade school child, and I drive places. I feel like if I want my kid to participate in a sport, then I need to invest in her, whether it be traveling or if I wanted to start something, it would be on me. And I couldn't expect all of the taxpayers to fund that on a constant basis. I think that forming something yourself, I know that the JDA offers community grants, and they also gave to the wrestling club. I know that if it was started in this Stanley community, I myself would be willing to vote to give funding for it like we do for plenty of the other things that come around, but I don't see how it would remain a city issue. How we're supposed to fund it with these tax dollars because people want to have their kids have a place to play. We have tournaments in Stanley. We have our current rec center. We use the school. we did volleyball here in Stanley. We held some tournaments here in Stanley, which brought in the business, and we still had to travel for other ones. We don't get to have, even if we had a rec center, it's not going to bring every tournament into Stanley to justify the cost of every weekend somebody's going to be coming, because you still have to go to the other communities as well.
Have
And
you guys considered, getting a group of people,
Yeah,
basically put together and decide exactly what size building you want and stuff, and probably renting one of these vacant buildings for a while and turning it into a rec center? I mean, you could go that route too, rather than to probably build something that's gonna, fit you exactly or whatever. There's a lot of places open right now around that would probably accommodate that same thing, and they're already built. That's just an idea. I mean, but I think the big thing you gotta do is form a group and, have your elected people in your group so you, can go about fundraising and go about, getting people excited about it in the community and in the area. I think that's where you got to start. And I think you got a great idea. I'm not trying to put your idea down at all.
no, I understand that.
So, I think you got a lot of work to do on this thing to see this through. But I don't see it as impossible, that's for sure. But as a city, I know we wouldn't take on building a rec center for the city. That's just something that
How
we wouldn't
about,
do.
would the city ever donate a chunk of ground to build something on?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. We're not saying that there's no help here.
Yeah, right.
All we're saying is that you guys are right in the first stages of talking about this stuff, but I think it's got to get, you got to have a better plan. You got to have, not that you guys don't know what you want, but I think you have to have kind of a group set up that's going to be looking into all these things, checking the costs, and then go forth and start try to secure the funds and stuff for something like this.
So with the exception of Williston and the Arc, Watford and the Rough Rider Center, and Dickinson with West River Aquatic Center, those aren't a fair comparison. I mean, that is not anything in the realm of
No, we're not asking
realistic.
for.
And I understand that, but I guess what my advice would be is to go out and find the killdeers that have one of these and take the 10 minutes and here, you can have that so that you see that it's not BS.
Yep.
Go out and do that footwork and find out exactly what that looks like. Because I mean, when you sit and look at it on paper, it's kind of staggering.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot more than what you expected, I'm guessing.
And it's an easier way to get people to commit to it if you have the numbers to back this.
Yeah.
And I mean, people are gonna jump on board and help you that, you won't have if it's just different people talking about getting a rec center, there'll never be a rec center.
Yeah, and I think it's something you start small and hope it does well and expands. Because I think if you jump in 10 million, it's just, you can't do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that right there alone. And that's, I mean, you guys have been by the Killdeer one. That's nothing special whatsoever. It's a nice little building on Main Street in
Well,
Killdeer.
that's why we were saying just do like
60 feet wide is all.
3 courts. And you can have a court for gymnastics, you can have cheerleading out there, you can have.
I mean, when we say basketball court, we sound like we just want basketball,
No.
but there's a lot of things you can do on a basketball court. Is what we're saying.
I'd like to kind of support that idea because I think basketball and volleyball, there isn't going to be a real cheap option that accommodates them because none of the cheap options have a high enough ceiling or enough
Exactly.
space to do
The
those
height.
two.
Yeah.
The good thing about it is if you did have that space, it could be used for all the other things.
Right.
And I think we might be looking at it a little wrong if we think it has to cash flow. I don't think these kinds of facilities usually do. I look at it more as it's a community that's in a competition to keep people here. And if every town around us has this kind of stuff and we lose people, that's not sustainable either. And that's kind of the hard decision that has to be made. Are we willing to pay more in taxes to have something that has a fringe benefit? Is that the right decision? Or do we not need it? We got to go to the other towns to get it, but.
Well, and I don't disagree with that. I don't think, it's like swimming pool, it'll never cash flow, but I think you gotta get closer than $200,000 of immediate debt to your taxpayer every single year. And, you know, and I'm gonna be honest, take a look around. Powers Lake doesn't have anything. Tioga's trying to build one, but they don't have the funding. It's not a for sure deal yet.
It's they're doing it right now.
Did they finally?
They
So
broke.
that's just happened in the not too
Very recent.
distant past. I know that we compare ourselves to our friends to the south, and that's not a fair comparison because they have access to billions of dollars. It's just the fact of the matter. I mean, that's the truth. The plazas, the Bertholds, none of them, they just don't have the tax base to support it, to even $100,000 debt a year, which, you know, a guy could probably start feeling a little better about it if that's all the farther in the red it ran. And the other advice, I think, you know, you talked about the off season. If you're going to have a building like that, I think you have to figure out how you can utilize it 12 months.
And that's what I was explaining to him too, like, what if you did like a daycare center and then the gymnastics, you can always get those 6-week intervals. You can't even try to get on Ray's Gymnastics or Powers Lake because there's people from Stanley going there even that are going to those. And then just everybody from here is traveling to other towns. I just feel like we can do better, you know, for our youth.
Have you talked to your taxing district on it, to the county at all?
Not yet, no.
No, this
Does
is
anybody-
just our first step.
This is step one.
Does Beulah have something similar? I don't know if they even have, but
I
I'd like to see a comparison of something that is basketball courts because they may not get used any more frequently, but when they do get used, it might bring in a ton of people at once, you know.
Yeah, we'll just have to.
Well, and I think there's so many different areas that you could go with this. I mean, like, certainly the county and school and, not that the school, they're kind of, their budget is pretty swelled up anyway, but, there's a lot of different places that can contribute to this, but they got to see a package.
Yeah.
You know, and I think you're doing the right thing. I mean, getting some people talking about it and stuff, but you need to get people together and put something together on it so there's some numbers there. And if people think it's sustainable, they'll give to it.
I don't think it's impossible.
And as far as, like we all said, I don't think anyone here is surely against a rec center, but it's, we do have to watch taxpayer dollars too. But like giving you land for it or helping in other ways, I don't see that as out of the, you know, out of the norm there. We can do stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm definitely in support of a rec center, but I also don't think that it's fair if you're not in our taxing district to ask to raise the taxes of our residents as well without
Well, I don't
even
think it's
having
fair that I have to
representation.
pay $500 building permit to build a house outside of town. And I had to.
Yeah, but a $500 permit is different than a continual tax.
But
base
it's
than
along the
everybody
same
else,
basis as
so
well.
there's its own.
I mean, that's a different subject. But
Oh, appreciate you coming in and bringing it up.
Yeah.
But, and, you know, feel free to come back to let us know what's going on.
Yeah.
But, that would be my suggestion. Get a group of people together and elect some officers and so you do that really formally. And that way you get stuff done. And you know who's going after this and you know who's going after that to get these ideas and put it all together so that you have something to actually hand to people and say, okay, this is what we're looking for. This is what we're raising money for. And it's going to take you a lot farther.
Mhm.
Nobody's going to be real interested in giving you a lot of money for just an idea if it's not down on paper. And, you know, am I wrong? It's, if you go visit some of these other ones and take the things out of there that you kind of like, put all that together and see what you can come up with and bring it back.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate
thank
your
you,
time.
guys.
appreciate you guys coming in. talking.
99% of them will have to tell you what they have into it, because I'm guessing in some way, shape, or form, they're tied back to a park district, more so than
Yeah,
a city. It's a park district.
And we know our park district is pretty fundraised out. right
Yeah,
now.
Yeah,
they have no room
they're
to do it
pretty
right now,
strapped.
but
Yeah.
the other towns that you talk to, I mean, you just call to the city
Yeah.
hall and they will direct you. I made one phone call to Kildare and they put me right in touch with them.
Yeah.
And they have to disclose all them numbers. It's all public information.
but the better package you put together, the easier it is gonna be to raise some money for it and get people excited. Win the PR battle. You'll get a
Yeah.
deal.
Okay. All right, well, we appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Select Energy Services. Land access agreement.
Okay, Wade Trilson is actually the one that come and dropped this off. Obviously, it was dropped off right after the council meeting in January. I guess, I don't know, is he working for this company or? I'm not sure how this goes hand in hand, how Wade is involved with this company but, this gentleman I spoke to, Mike with Select Energy, had indicated that Wade Trilson was going to be here tonight and asked about if we could just change the dates on the agreement. I mean, other than that, there's not a lot I can say.
I believe he works for like frack water outfit.
I'm trying to text him right now and find out
I
what's
think
going on.
he's said he's out sick or something. Is there a call-in
He said,
number?
I told
Yeah.
Ty to call me or Mike would want to be on, because I'm not feeling good.
Is there a call-in number or something that,
The conference call, yeah.
is something I can forward on to him? I
Don't
guess?
send,
Does it have the participant one on here?
just tell them not to do the administrator, just the conference ID.
I'll just
I think he's watching on YouTube.
And I mean, I did speak to this Mike last week and asked him maybe to send me an email, just kind of stating exactly what he wanted. Because then he asked about extending out this agreement so that every time they needed access, they didn't have to submit a new agreement and wait for the council to approve it.
So if you look in the first paragraph of this, it's temporary water lines built on the surface
Right.
and it's lay flat.
It's
So
lay flat, that's,
I'm guessing they're shuttling frack water.
right. But where is this at?
The knife. If you go to the third page or fourth page, there's a map.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me, if it's a temporary water permit, don't they have to have a state water permit?
They do.
Attached to
They have
this?
a conditional use permit with the city, and Wade does. to have the pump on his dad's land. And then they have the state water permit, but this is for,
So they're just looking for easement basically on our property, city property.
yes, but then there's compensation for the city. That's why I told him I wasn't able to do anything. Lynn told him the same thing, that it would have to come in front of you guys because there's money involved.
Right.
I just sent Wade the call in for the conference. So he hopefully should be calling in.
This looks like a 45-day easement if I'm interpreting this right.
Megan?
That's how I read it.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I have a question. So this land access agreement, would we need to do a new agreement, or would we be able to just cross off the dates and have it initialed and put in more current dates?
Yes, we could make some amendments to the agreement. We were thinking of making a few amendments anyway, so depending on what questions we have after we speak with Wade, we could amend the dates as well.
Okay, because, yeah, this wasn't sent to me, so the only copy I got is a paper copy. So,
Okay, yeah, and I have in my notes here that we could cross off this term, the term 1, the 45 days. We could cross off that, and we could agree to terminate the agreement. Well, because it's got this 45-day provision here, and we could change that if something doesn't get agreed to within the 45 days.
I think also within the agreement, it needs to state what that day charge is once they run over the 45 days. And if you use the math, the dollars that they're gonna pay us for the 45 days of use, that's $43.78 per day. And that needs to be in there until the lay flat is removed, that charge.
Because currently in 2, it says that's for all current and future use, so it should be specified.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Thank you. Under the first paragraph, it says, when it talks about like operating, installing, repairing temporary water lines and other equipment deemed necessary, what is that normally? Because I know that Wade had talked about something about some type of heater or something and putting it on our land. And I said, I don't remember ever talking about that. So that I know that there would be other equipment besides just the lay flat hoses. I was kind of hoping he was
The
going to
fact
call.
is I don't see anything in here for any damages occurred on that land when they're spooling out or spooling in on that lay flat. Is there anything in here protecting us from having all that damage on the property? If there isn't,
Has there been a precedent set on something like this before? Have we ever charged somebody to have access through, or is this like a first time situation?
This would be the first one I've ever seen since I've been auditor. I think there's been previous things, prior to me being auditor for like easements and stuff, but I don't think there's ever been like a set amount that we've ever charged. Just kind of based it off of maybe what they've offered or, negotiated.
So in the other ones we've approved as like a point of diversion though, obviously they had to put a hose in and put lay flat in and out on those too. I don't see that this is a lot different. It's just that it's reversing the whole property or.
Yeah, I don't see.
yeah. The only thing is typically in one of these agreements, they always spell out the fact that if there's any land damage, that that it's taken care of in whole by them. So without that being on here, I would say
Hey, guys, I'm here. Sorry it took me so long. This is Wade.
Hey, Wade.
Hey, how's the guy? You guys look good on camera.
Now you're just buttering us up.
I'm trying, yes. I don't know if it's working or not. So what's your question for me? I think Mike was supposed to try to call in too, but I've been listening here and trying to get on at the same time, so I can't do two things at once, you know? So what is it you're wondering about? I think you guys have all the information in front of you that Mike had, sent to me to drop off for you. I actually work with Select. I have my own company, but we do move frac water, like Ed said, he's right. It's all lay flat hose. There's usually, well, I mean, not usually, I can say most of the time, depending on what situation is, if it's muddy or whatever. I mean, we're trying not to, muddy up everything or wreck anything, anybody's land or anything like that. That's the main thing, is try to keep good with our landowners or you guys, the city. So as far as the 45-day, what he has on that agreement, I think that is probably basis is basically how they do it every time. That's how they write it up every time. And then, we had, like Amanda had mentioned, we had talked about possibly putting a feeder truck down there. We're actually doing the frac here shortly anyways. We threw it up on top of the hill on our land. I think it would have been just, he wanted it something a little bit closer, but I mean, we made it work. It's fine. We're just trying to, we just want to see if you guys would give us that easement for future use, I think is what it says on there. I don't have the easement in front of me, you guys. So I don't really know. What else?
What other equipment, Wade, are they putting on there?
Well, basically right now what we have is there's a water pump pulling the water out of the slough.
Yep.
And then up on top of the hill basically is a water heater truck that heats the water as it's going through the line. That's the only two things that should be on that property that we're using to pull the water and heat it. And in the summertime, of course, we won't need the heat truck, right? But that's what we're fighting with for the winters. We always have to heat that water to go through the line. So it's got to be at a certain temp once it hits that track.
Do you have a booster pump though by that heater truck? Must have to have a booster pump once you pump it into that heater truck, don't you?
So there's going to be, usually it's only a couple pieces of equipment basically.
Yeah.
Heat truck won't be there in the summer, like I said. So then it would be, just basically the transfer pump. Was that you, Chad, that was talking?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Then I think there's another pump up there, right next to that truck. I've only been out by there a few times.
Do they plan to put this stuff down? Do they plan to put this stuff down, Wade, when it's froze out there? When the ground is froze?
Absolutely. Yep.
Because I mean,
Absolutely.
there's going to be a lot of damage to that if it's thawing out there. So.
Sure, and then that's the thing. We would never do that. I mean, we would wait for it to dry out before we ever did anything like that. And that's like now they're doing it while it's frozen, so that it doesn't cause any problems. So that's as far as I know what's going on, anyways.
Okay, in bullet point 5 on your deal here, there's a point in there where it says user and landowner further agree that neither party shall be liable to the other for any consequential, incidental, or indirect damages, including but not limited to loss of profit, loss of production, revenue, or anticipated business. I kind of struggle with that. That pretty much tells us if there's damage, you're not liable to repair it. I'm not comfortable with that statement in there.
I don't That I don't know about, Chad. I don't,
It's pretty clear. It says
how that works.
neither party.
I believe, I just don't, okay. Yeah, I don't know how why that doesn't make sense to me either. I mean, we always, something happens, they go back, go back and fix it. So I don't know why that's even in there, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd never sign something like that, Wade. You wouldn't either.
Why? And I don't blame you. Absolutely not. Like I said, I don't have it in front of me. I don't know about that. I was kind of hoping I could get Mikey on here too. He's not on there at all, is he? Mikey not on with us? Because he said he was going to try and call in. So.
If you look really close at this document, well, it's probably just something with a copy machine, but there's an actual blue line through the one, including but not limited to loss of profit, loss of production. But it's got to be just the copier deal. But it says neither party's, responsible for damages, and that would be a bad thing to sign.
That's not right. That is not right. I agree with you completely. They should be. I mean, any company, doesn't matter who it is, Select or whoever. If they screw up, you got to fix it.
That's right.
That's the way it needs to be. And then, so I'm with you on that. Completely with you. Hold on a second. I got it in front of me. My man just went to me here. 5. I don't understand that at all.
So 2 questions. Is this something, does it matter if it gets pushed to next month? If it does matter, then is this something we could have our lawyer revise to our liking to cover our liability and approve it contingent of that?
You mean that take that number 5 out of there and rewrite it? They're liable. If something happens, you got to fix it.
Yeah.
That number 5 wasn't part of that. That's the biggest thing I think that's holding this up. Am I right?
Well, I think we'd have to look at 2 as well to change it, in case it drags on past that we're not just stuck with that one cost, that it's $1 per day amount past the 45 days too.
Mayor, may I make a comment?
Yes.
Maybe either Wade or myself could speak to this, Mike, tell him to send me this actual agreement, have our attorneys go through it and revise it to, fit the city's needs, as obviously, especially number 5 being a concern.
Yeah, it certainly needs to go to the attorney to sign, to fix that, Wade. We don't want to try to do that on our own,
that's what the attorneys are paid for, right?
Well, I thought you were going to do that, but how soon do you need this agreement?
Well, I think we'd like it signed as soon as we can, but if we got to get that changed, I'll try to get with Mike and get it changed like ASAP. We can get that done, and then I can. Did I get back with a Lynn then, or with you, or who?
Yes, get back with a Lynn, but I think as a council, we could actually approve it contingent on the changes, tonight. But as far as signing off on it,
work for me.
I'm not signing it until I see it, changed.
Okay. No,
I
that's
would make
totally
that
fair with
motion.
me. So
Huh?
I'll make the motion.
I'll do my diligence here, and I will get with Mike, and we'll get that in, and then I'll get it back to a Lynn so you guys can look it over again before you actually take the final signature.
Perfect. Okay, a motion's been made.
Right.
Motion's been made by Lauren to approve it contingent upon having the lawyers
Make the changes.
make the changes that's needed to
Second.
protect the city.
Correct.
Did you second, Chad?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor, signify
Appreciate you
by,
guys very much.
Thanks, Wade.
thanks.
Yep.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign, opposed?
Just a quick question.
Okay,
Was that dollar amount going to be also included in that motion on number 2? Yeah,
yeah,
I think a day rate should be shown.
The day rate,
but I think we give
Past
Lynn,
45 days.
we give Lynn our ideas basically to run through the lawyers on this.
right, and that's what she's asking,
That-
to include
right.
the day rate of 43.78
Yeah.
per day until the lay flat is removed, not
Yeah,
just not
and
in
any
use.
damage, and any
all
damages are taken care of.
Yep.
Because you can't just say till the lay flat's removed.
No.
So,
Do I need to change my motion for you, Lynn,
on what?
so that it includes all of that in one motion?
She made the motion. You can't change
Lauren,
your
I mean,
motion.
does she need to amend her?
You guys are better than this, and making sure, we'll make sure we put all of that in minutes. So,
Okay. So you got it then.
yes.
And there was nobody opposed to it, so the motion carries. So we are done with that. Okay, Visitors Committee.
Okay, as far as I know, nobody was gonna be here for the visitors committee, so you guys obviously have the applications in front of you.
Yep.
One for the Park District for their annual poker chip chasing run on March 11th, and the Montreal County Bull Bash and Rodeo Company bull riding, bullfighting, and clown school at the Fair Building, March 31st through April 2nd. So 2,500 to the Stanley Park District and 8,000 to the Abraham Rodeo Company. And it was unanimous that they approved both for the full amount.
Well, I'd move to accept the visitor committee recommendations for the amounts requested.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion and a second. You want to do a roll call on that?
Lauren?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
All right.
Okay. Any opposed? Motion carries. Anything else for the visitors? Okay. Moving on. Amanda Scow? Okay, I apologize.
I said it wrong when I first met my husband too, so. He had to tell me it's like a school to get the sound right, so. Lauren sent our letter on to you guys. I don't know if you want us to read it or just give you our argument on why we would like to have the city of Stanley accept backyard chickens. Or like, I don't want to waste time. I'd like to be as efficient as possible because we all have family and places to be. So I can read it, or I can kind of give you this Reader Digest version. What would you like?
Just give us your version.
Okay. We would like to have chickens, a small flock, for our families. I think they're more beneficial than a cat or a dog, because they provide something for us. They offer fresh, locally sourced eggs. They can provide food security. They provide healthier eggs. They provide gardens with high quality fertilizer. They help control pests and flies. They dispose of weeds and kitchen scraps, which is probably my favorite thing on there. A backyard chicken consumes approximately 1.6 pounds of household food scraps per week, or approximately 83.2 pounds of household food scraps a year. So a flock of 4 backyard chickens would be expected to consume approximately 332.8 pounds of household food scraps per year, which would help our landfills and tremendously. They're seen as
therapeutic for kids. In fact, my daughter really wants chickens. And so she wanted to actually talk to you guys. And I thought, that's part of her civic duty too, is to explain why she would like chickens. So I'm going to turn the time over to her for a quick second to say why she wants. Read this part too.
Chickens provide a wonderful way for kids to learn about nature, agriculture, and the responsibility of caring for animals. It is also a fantastic way for both kids and adults to gain respect for creatures that provide food for us. I like chickens because I like to collect eggs at my cousin's house. Also, they're fun to watch and learn about them. And the eggs that they lay are colorful and pretty. They come in different types and have different personalities.
So, and she's been pushing me to do this. She really likes birds. So I thought, with the way the world goes and the price of eggs and everything, it's worth presenting it to you guys. There's a lot of misconceptions with chickens that they're noisy. A dog's bark is 90 decibels. A chicken's is the loudest they get is generally 60 decibels. So they're a quieter animal, actually. They smell. A flock, if you take care of them, they produce less waste than a dog, typically, actually. And so if you actually clean out your coop like you're supposed to and take care of it, they shouldn't smell. And you don't need a rooster to have eggs. And that's the purpose that we would like to have backyard chickens. I included in this an option to apply for a chicken permit, and the residents would have to meet certain rules or expectations from the city. Like they have to be the owner of the property that they're keeping them on. They can only afford to 5 chickens on the lot. It has to be in the backyard. It has to be fenced. It has to be not where neighbors are going to be bugged by it. So, and you've got to provide correct square footage for your chickens and accommodate the setbacks that the city's already has in place. Keep your feed in rodent and predator proof containers. Keep your chickens inside at night, just the basic care of the chickens. And I suggested a $25 permit fee. I know it's asking the city to also take care of another thing, make sure people follow the rules. I would even volunteer my time if it was to help pass this motion. I'd ask for just a year probationary term to allow us, and if it doesn't go well, then we eliminate the motion to have chickens. But we'd really like you to consider the possibility of letting our town and our people have some.
Okay. Any comments? Comments from anybody?
I guess I don't see harm in having backyard chickens. I think there's a lot of communities, even giant cities, that allow them, and I see them function really well there. I think one of the misconceptions is that everybody's going to go out and get chickens, which is what most people think. There'll be a chicken in each backyard, which I highly doubt that would happen. It's hard to imagine in a small agricultural community that we don't allow them. And I think that a responsible pet owner is a responsible pet owner. We have irresponsible dog owners out there. We see them. We have responsible dog owners. I don't think that changes with allowing a chicken in town.
Okay. Anybody else? Linda?
Well, it's a farm animal. I guess if you wanted farm animals in town, then you live out of town. I'm sure the fire department remembers, was it last year? 2 years ago, the little fire in the backyard. It was roasted duck, chicken, whatever. There's a reason for this ordinance. I mean, I think personally, I don't want somebody's chickens in my backyard. I don't want to listen to them. I don't want the smell, and you can't tell me there isn't any smell. I know there's smell of dog droppings and whatever. I get it. But I don't know, kind of like a pig, it's got a very unique smell. And I guess, if anything, I think there should be a public hearing because I would like to hear what the public says. If they want chickens in their backyards.
Chad?
And I mean, there is an ordinance, so it's not as easy as just a motion to approve. It's got to go through 2 readings for an ordinance change, and so, I mean, it's a minimum of May-ish first, somewhere right in there, end of April.
Have you been to the planning and zoning?
I have not, but I know somebody else has presented it to them.
Okay.
I thought, just somebody had talked about it to them, but.
Amanda, you know anything about that? or-
I think Cassandra's been brought it up to Todd is what.
I don't think it's been on the record, though.
Oh, it's not been on record? Okay.
No.
This
I
is
just-
the first that we've heard about it.
I
since
know
I've been
that the
on.
question was brought up to me by someone and they wanted to stay off of the record, and I told them that they should talk with the police department because they're the ones that have the animal ordinance. I don't do the animal ordinance, any kind of like enforcement. I don't do the vehicles and I don't do animals, so I did ask them to speak with the police department. I don't know if they did or not.
Like because of an issue of one or to get?
No, to ask if they were wanting to ask about the ordinance, what the ordinance said, things like that, because that's not one of the ordinances that I am familiar with.
Just the examples that I've seen of people having chickens in town, they were good. I mean, I didn't notice any smell. The kids loved them. They were a good learning experience, and the eggs were good. So I don't have a huge issue with it, I guess, but.
Todd, got any feelings on
Well, I wanted to commend this young lady, though. I mean, I think it's pretty impressive that she's up here. It's not too often we get somebody that's a grade school age. So I applaud your effort for showing up and fighting for something you believe in. And as far as the chicken thing goes, I mean, I have done little straw polls with the peer group of people I know, and it's been a pretty resounding no. So like, I have my own thoughts and stuff, but I mean, I am here in representation of the tax base that put me here. And I'll do a little unofficial thing, and get the feelers out. I mean, the number one thing I hear is the smell. That's the thing. Like, I think everybody's grandparents had chickens. You probably had chickens, and I've on a farm. And that's, like I get that where, yeah, if they're taken care of, they don't smell. Like, oh, I know what one cat smells like too in a house. And that's the part that I'm more afraid of. I don't think chickens are necessarily dirty or disgusting, and I think without a rooster, I don't think they're that loud. But that ammonia, stinky chicken smell, that's the part that everybody I've talked to, that's where the hesitation comes, where like, so that's where I'm at. Like, if I try it for a year, is this going to stink to high heaven?
I like Linda's idea. I think we can afford a public meeting on it. Let our people come here and tell us.
Absolutely.
If nobody comes and contests to it, then our decision's pretty easy.
And it's
Then you're stuck with us, our decision.
Well, that is our decision, what the community, what the taxpayer represents themselves as.
I agree.
I agree.
think we can have a public meeting on it, so,
Mayor, may I make a comment, please?
yes.
Okay, so if we're going to set a public hearing, would we like to set this for next month's meeting, or we'll obviously have to get notice put in the paper and,
Yes, I think we should set it for next month, yeah.
okay? Guess if somebody wants to make an official motion?
I'd make that motion.
I'll second that.
Does the ordinance need to be written first? I mean, isn't the hearing about the ordinance change? I mean, wouldn't it have to be in writing what it would change to? Or not? Or is it just?
I don't-
We
input?
discuss it at that point. I
I
mean,
think if there's enough support to change the ordinance,
Then that'd
then that's when that would start. I know that's probably not soon enough, but it's
We will take whatever we can get. Like,
better
if-
than kicking it down the road.
And we just, we appreciate just our wants being presented and to give a chance for the community to speak. So thank you. Sorry.
Well, appreciate the input here, because I mean, this is a good start towards an ordinance if it goes that route too. So
Yep.
it helps us understand it.
So, oh, we'll have to vote on this. There was a motion for a public hearing in a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Congratulations, you all did a public hearing.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. Okay. Jacob Inge's city lot purchase agreement and deed.
Okay, I did send this to Jacob. I never got any comments back from him. Obviously, I just told him, I sent it what the lawyer sent us, just so that he could review it. Like I said, he never commented back that he was against any of it. So as far as I know, he's in agreement with this. And obviously, the council has already approved to sell this property to him, but just thought I'd put it in front of your guys' eyes to agree with the purchase agreement and the quit claim deed, and we'll get it signed and have Jacob sign it and get it recorded.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second's been made. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. No opposed. Motion carries. Okay, next item on the list is the Park District loan agreement.
Okay, I didn't fully get to review this. I did get it today. I did briefly discuss it with Deb, one of the attorneys. I did state to her that in the memorandum of understanding, it talks about insurance. I told her, obviously, we would need to remove that because we actually cover the insurance for the Park District for buildings, equipments, et cetera. So I told her that would need to be removed. She did mention to me about if there was anything, you'll see number 8 on page 1. So she's got due diligence there, but just kind of a blank line. So if the council had anything additional they wanted to add in, if not, we could remove that. Megan, am I missing anything?
I don't think you're missing anything. Is this the one where we're talking about we need the term for what would be considered a large project?
Oh, yes, I forgot about that. So yeah, which number was that again, Megan?
Number 6.
Number 6, okay. So obviously that was mentioned at your guys' meeting. Just, she was wondering if maybe there should be like a dollar amount in so that it's not quite so vague for.
Yeah, we never talked about, we just said I think what the exact wording was, any projects is what we went with.
I got one question on this. Why does it say $3.5 million loan? We agreed to a $3 million loan in the meeting that day. Correct?
Well, I know initially when we did the budget, we put 4 million, figured in 4 million just in case. But I know
I thought we had figured in 2 million, and then when we come to a meeting, I thought Lauren had said 3 million at the meeting. And that's what we had agreed upon.
I think the 3.5 was the 3, because I brought that up that day, that it was 3, and the other $500,000 was the donation that the city made.
That sounds right.
And I think they misinterpreted that as the $3.5 million loan, when $500,000 of it is a grant, essentially a grant.
We gave that.
That's
There's
just
no
what was in those minutes. So I sent those minutes to the attorney. That's exactly what they based it off of.
Right, so I guess what we need is verify in the minutes of what we approved here.
Okay,
Because we had talked about that here, and it was, my recollection is it was 3 million. Yeah,
Well, you made the motion actually for 3 million that I remember and it was
Microphones.
agreed upon.
I think.
I remember
That's
3.
what I remember too.
I think it's 3.
So I think it needs to be changed or checked upon.
And I think the 3.5, where they got that was the 500,000 that we gave. I mean, that was a gift. There's no repayment on that.
okay.
What's that? Or donation. Well, I don't know what you wanna
Contribution to
call
the
it.
project. Was a contribution to the project.
What's that? Yeah. So I,
Okay, so we'll just need to change it then so it says 3 million. And didn't they even specify that they didn't even know if they would need to even loan up to that much? Or did they confirm they would?
They thought they would need 2, but 2.5 to be safe is I think what we discussed.
that was their guess, contingent upon how well they did fundraising. And then
Right.
the comment was made that I think we're gonna be struggling to get to 250,000 this year.
That's right.
Have they gotten the 500,000 yet?
Yes, they have already
They
received
would have the
the,
option of getting that first, right?
yeah, they already received the 500,000
Yeah,
from the city.
That's spent.
Huh? Well, that actually came out of their city sales tax fund.
They haven't had a draw yet.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of where this was
Yeah, but
specified.
he
This
did say
needed to
that
be in place before.
They
we
had
allow-
pay requests coming due that they were concerned about, right?
For, in February, maybe. The one that we approved in January was covered by their funds that they already had in place.
Right, but they. apparently
From
they-
that point forward, they were gonna have to start looking at taking draws.
Yep,
Would it be fair to set a number when it comes to projects? Because I mean, if they're going to do a project that's a couple $1,000s, we can't expect them not to do something if it's to repair, I don't know, something that they already have going on? Or do we establish like brand new projects? I mean, I feel like we should specify like anything over $5,000, $10,000, or, because if we do make it that broad, it's gonna, every single time they want to do something itty bitty, they'll come to us that I don't think is necessary.
And I think that's kind of what the attorney was getting at, to maybe kind of put a dollar amount in there so that it's not so vague, and for clarification for everybody, even say future council members, since this is a 30-year agreement. So I mean, like 50,000, 100,000.
Gosh, I just
Well,
think lower than
100,000,
that.
that's their payment, remember?
Right. I mean, I'm just saying, yeah, I understand that, because I mean, what's
25?
considered a project?
I mean, repairs that's a given. You can't withhold their repairs. They have to be able to make repairs to their equipment, whether it's maintenance equipment or park equipment, playground equipment. That's what I said. You can't withhold those funds if they're doing repairs. But a project where they actually start something new and build or add on to what they have, that's what we can restrict.
So what if they got a directed donation for something? So that's, if we put no project at all, then they would have to sit on that money for 30 years until they paid off this one to start a new project?
something that's sent in by the public that's designated for something else, I don't think we have anything to say
But if
about.
they say, hey, we want to expand the field out there, we're gonna buy more of that land, I mean, it would technically be their project. I'm just playing devil's advocate here, because if you look at it in that aspect, it is a direct donation, but it's,
If you send in $100 to the park board and designate on it that it's for the softball field, there's not a darn thing we can do about that. It's designated to the park board. And I don't think you can change that. I wouldn't want to see that changed. Because if I make a contribution to something, I want it to go to that, you know?
Right, but if I wanted to make a large contribution to start something new, like say I hit the lotto and I wanted them to start a rec and I was willing to donate so much money for them to start a rec center, would that constitute the same, saying that they can't start a new project? If I were to say, hey, I'll give you $10 million to start this project. So that's perfectly
They
fine
can
then?
spend up to that 10 million on that new project then.
Yeah, when they
Okay.
pay that park board note off, you know, that could be paid off in 2 years. We don't know. But as soon as that's paid off, they're free to do whatever they want.
I think
But
what you're
what
saying,
she's saying is that if she gives them 10 million towards a rec center,
Yeah.
they can start that rec center immediately
certainly.
with that $10
Certainly.
million.
Yeah.
I guess when I see like no new projects, I assume like. you
They're gonna
can't
be
start.
happy to know that you're gonna contribute
If I
that
win the
much.
lottery, I will be happy to give Stanley residents. I should say a large lottery, let me be specific.
Mary, can you make sure to put that in the paper?
Thank you.
so I mean,
I think we just listed as new
unsecured,
park district funded projects. Or some, I don't know
something
that
that's-
there's a dollar, how do you pick a dollar amount? Right. You know, like, I mean, like the pool, for instance, that's essentially a.
Well,
park
and I
district.
think they understand the
Yeah.
commitment that they're under. You know, I mean, even if it isn't.
But they
Written.
change. I mean, they get new board members.
Oh, they do.
council members, so if it's just written in stone,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
it makes it clear on all parties.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like kind of what I'm envisioning, I'll just go smaller scale. We have them, they can't, until we're made whole, but if all of a sudden you write them a check for $50,000 gazebo project, I don't think we should stop that if there's that 50,000 that was given to them for that project and it'll pay it off.
Well, and
Is
if-
that what we all think?
but-
They can't.
If it's $100,000 project, they're gonna have to wait till they get the other $50,000 in before they could do the project.
In the form of a donation
Right.
earmarked for that project.
Designated to that project. They can't use their typical funds that they get for that.
Just making sure that's reflected in
Okay.
the agreement, you know?
So how clear is that to you, legal? Did we muddy the waters more for you than legal?
Well, I guess just the dollar amount is kind of what we were looking for to make it a little more clear. But I mean, I guess it is hard to come up with a dollar amount at this point if you just don't know what's going to come up. So, 'cause yeah, I mean, we have $100,000 written in here, but you know, for a park project, that could be pretty much nothing. So, you know, it just comes down to what you think would be a large project.
Well, unless they get money donated and designated to a project, any of their other monies go toward that loan.
Okay, so what exactly did you say, Chad? Like they couldn't,
Any
No.
new park district funded?
so if from any of their city sales tax funds,
Right.
okay? But if they have the funds,
Earmark.
the full funds of their own that from donations, whatever, they're okay to start a project.
Yeah, as long as that donation came in ear-tagged for a specific project, we have no business telling them what to do with it. That's theirs. And the wishes of the donor.
That's right. That's the way I see it.
So Megan could we, you know, put some sort of verbiage into that aspect, like stating that they can't request any of their city sales tax funds for any
Yes.
new projects.
That would work.
Okay,
Perfect.
Yep. So yeah, if we want to just approve the memorandum of understanding, the promissory note, do they need to also approve the actual amortization schedule?
You need to amend that 3 million to.
Yeah, and then to include the amendments.
Okay, have you made that motion? With the changes? Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made, and I would like a,
Second, sorry.
Chad?
Chad.
I would like a roll call.
Lauren.
Aye.
Zach.
Aye.
Ty.
Aye.
Linda.
Aye.
George.
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries with all in agreement. So we can move on. Is that taken care of then? Okay, we are going to have a 10-minute recess.
You read my mind, yeah.
What? Oh, yeah.
Because there is an age ruling out there.
Oh, yeah,
You can be held severally liable to repay it if anybody protests it. So when you called that $500,000 a gift, I almost stroked over there and so did a lip.
But, and, I mean, and we talked about it at the employment deal, even with our.
Christmas bonus thing.
Oh, yeah, no, everybody knows what it is.
You can't use that word. Fireworks or something.
Now, technically, the city and Don Longmire changed that, we should only have half a mile, and Don Longmire signed the counties over to us. So now we have 1 mile.
What part of that? Back in the night, or
He hooked us up.
early, yeah, back in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. How that came about was the industrial utilities, the only users that had generation. They were landlocked. So they couldn't extend past the city. So then they created what they call national territorial districts. So they have allowed them to go into new subdivisions that as they kind of extend, and they would be able to scale the supply of electricity and gas, and they would like electric tax on it. Well, over the course of years, the extraterritorial district remains attached to the upper. So as your city boundaries grow, your extraterritorial bills usually, so it contributes to the shop, so that the investor in the field always has the ability to do new business.
There's not an easier way to put off landowners, right, so I've opted it down, that she reminds them that we're changing the boundaries of the state, and now they're in our extraterritorial.
Guaranteed.
I got it, just once or twice, Doc, once or twice.
You can't just pay $500 for it.
And here's the thing, that is for a new build, like when Chad's mom and dad brought in their brand new house and put it on that empty lot, that is what we're talking about. Not like if you want to put a pantry, you want to add an addition to your house. If you want to tear your house down and then bring in a new house or build a new house, that would be great. Oh, absolutely. So it's not even, it's being interpreted correctly.
It's not even like everybody who wants to change his window size, like.
No.
We put in a $50.
Yeah.
I just thought that was
Yeah.
really.
It would just be a brand new house.
Yeah, but that's spent on that board that way. It's not like it's not like it doesn't.
No, not at all. I don't know. Okay, got it. Okay, yeah. Yeah, but I was not really all that communication with all customer transfer. So I don't have to go to body for.
Oh, I'm guessing it probably have to do with the wedding.
Oh, that wasn't even, yeah. That was part of it. But I think Robbie had, I don't know, used some stuff or something up there, because he got some guys working out there or something. He was there, I think.
We don't want to be the part, so now that people have to wait some of the. I think that was definitely active in it, because I mean,
Did that one fold up, huh? You know, I was looking at the DOT weather cameras, and the ones that are like right outside of Nina, I know that can be very, all the cameras are ice over, and I'm like, well, that's not very promising. It's gonna be a slick ride home. No, I'll be the ones that are not an hour, here's the thing, Ray, I understand it is my choice whether or not to do so I earned a lot of work. So I tried keeping slow on the highway, looking at how to work, and that's good.
well, but the weather was so nice yesterday, but today is so much colder, like, if you were to have that one day, I would be just fine, but for some reason, today, 100 colder than.
I made a mistake, I got a little bit warm in my office.
waiting patiently.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I think most of you know me, but if you don't, my name is Casey Carlson. I'm an engineer at Bros, and I've been here 3 or 4 years. I'm just filling in for Donovan this month since he's gone this week. The first item on our Bros agenda is the Country Estates Water Main project. We reached out to them and requested a schedule, but we haven't gotten anything from them yet. I think our plan is in the next couple weeks, contact them again and try to get a schedule from them. Last they told us they wanted to start in kind of late spring, early summer of this year. I think that's all the news I have for that project.
Okay. I'm kind of interested in that one.
I could see that. If no one has anything on that, the next thing on my agenda is the Bros Engineering fee schedule. I saw that you guys got other rate sheets from other companies. Just with the Bros one, I guess I was going to point out that our numbers go, the higher the number is the lesser experience, and a 1 being the lowest number is the most experienced. Whereas other companies might do it differently, where a 1 is the least experienced and, let's say a 7 is the highest.
Right.
But I mean, you can kind of tell that based off the rate. It goes up obviously for more experience, but.
I was gonna make one comment on there. I think, was that Prairie Engineering? Did you get that, or did that come through one of the others? Did you ask specifically for Prairie's?
Yeah, so I actually had Ann contact these other firms.
Well, I think that's the same Prairie that we use for mechanical and electrical. So it's not a civil engineering firm?
Oh,
Yeah, I noticed there's 2 stark difference.
Yeah, theirs was a lot lower, but yeah.
Yeah.
So like the pathway, it had electrical, Bros subs to them for electrical and mechanical, so that would actually be the mechanical electrical firm that would get used no matter which other firm was picked.
Prairie. It doesn't coincide.
Any of the others, yeah.
So that's my bad, because I
No,
definitely,
that's
she had
fine.
requested, but I had one really, what was the company that was more engineering, and then like, well, if you send me the fee schedule for who your engineers are, I will send you ours, and I'm like, oh, this we can do. So I just kind of Googled, and this is what I came up with, and a lot of people didn't respond. To give me their.
That also is not how it works, I mean, and those who really have to see what they can adjust.
Comments?
Well, my comps that I just sat here and looked through, and I'm guessing that some of you also have looked through. According to the one competitor, they're below. And one other competitor, they're right in the ballpark with, so. And then one comp that we had that didn't fit the bill at all, so. Can you adjust to that? Okay, I was talking to Casey.
That was the first thing I asked Zach looking at it today. I was like, man, this company's a lot lower. He's like, I bet they're gonna ask about that. And then he was like, oh, it's a mechanical sub. Like, okay, that makes sense.
Any other comments?
I'd make a motion to approve the fee schedule for Bros Engineering.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the fee schedule. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, let's do a,
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach,
Abstain.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda, George,
Aye.
Chad.
All right.
okay. The ayes have it. There's nobody against it, so I guess we approve. Motion carries. Next item?
The next item is the phase 2 of the Stanley CIP project. I believe there is a task order attached with that Donovan was showing me. That includes, it'd be 12 and a half blocks of street, 11 blocks of sanitary sewer, and 8 blocks of water main. And in that task order, he crossed out, you can see, like the storm drain was removed. It's left on there, but you know, there's a line through it. Same with the bidding and negotiation, that's crossed out on the task order.
Submit our questions beforehand on that, but I guess in Donovan's email, I was curious to know because he stated that it failed a 5-year test. Is that like a projected test, or is that something that we've looked at over 5 years that it's failed? Like, how does that?
So I met with Donovan on that. He explained it to me, and it's a certain amount of rain over the course of so many hours, and it's almost really tough just to even make that with an improved system, let alone having and it was a small amount. It was like a 1/4 inch of rain or something to that. And you two are engineers, correct me where I'm wrong, but
Yeah, I think it's acre feet is the volume used for rainfall for that. I don't know the exact number on what classifies 5, 10, 50 off the top of my head, but.
And for and I don't remember what Donovan put in his email, but it should have been a 5-year event, which means an event of that scale will statistically happen about once every 5 years.
Okay.
So hydraulic structures, whether you're talking about a storm sewer or a bridge or a box or a culvert under the road, are typically specified by the governing agency to be designed to a certain event. And obviously, the higher the number of years that you want to not ever have it flood, the bigger the structure's got to be.
So if it failed a 5-year test, how far has it, like every 2 years it floods, or what's the issue?
That's saying that from the modeling.
Oh, it's just modeling. It hasn't actually
it's not
flooded. Like, it's
recorded. We have
just-
not recorded a failure. We just know that there's been twice that intersection has flooded over the course of the last 20 years.
Yeah, I do want to add something to that. When you get down in the I don't remember the street, but when you get down in that low area over there by
It'd be Stan Wright or Stan
Bockel's place or whatever, it doesn't matter what kind of system you put in there. That is going to have water problems no matter how you try to change that.
And that's exactly what Donovan explained to me too.
Because
He said,
there's so much, acre feet basically of runoff there coming from every single direction down to that one point.
do you know where? Well, it'd be a block straight north of you. So it drains everything from 6th Avenue going north, and it drains 3 blocks to the north coming south, and it drains a full block or 2 blocks probably even to the west, and then a full block to the east.
In the event of a pretty hard rain, it will run over the curbs there. I've seen it myself. Eventually it takes it out, after it quits raining and stuff, but it will come up over the top of the curb, which is considered flooding, you know. However, no matter what kind of system you put down there, it's not gonna fix that problem
The
down
way
there.
you could probably eliminate it is if you put a pump, like a lift type station in there.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not feasible.
I mean, we just all need to, and I defer to the people that know the history. If there's no concern, then I agree we should put money towards something that nobody's worried about. We do need to just be aware it is kind of a convoluted system. We have small pipes on the end that should be where the largest pipe should be, and they kind of go up and down in size.
Yeah.
It
I
just
think
got pieces.
Donovan said that the very end is 24 inches and then it varies between 18, 21, 36.
Well, and because
Just all
you got
throughout the system.
different years of installation, you know, throughout the years, the additions and stuff to it, everything was kind of just done as is back then, and so that's why you got that.
I guess when I read it, I didn't understand that, so I wanted to clarify
But you
before I
can-
say,
you
no,
can-
let's not do it if it's
You
like
can be sure
failing
there's
some major
chokes
test.
in there, you know, just because of how old some of it is, but you're not gonna help it a heck of a lot by redoing the whole thing, because you're still got just too much area to drain. It's really low.
I know I've got 3 places listed that Donovan mentioned that Public Works, I assume it was Curtis probably back in the day, talked to him about. It was on 5th Ave between 4th and 5th Streets, and then 4th Ave and 4th Street intersection, and then the 3rd Ave and 4th Street intersection. There was flooding concerns. I don't know what that looked like, I guess, but I would assume it would be Curtis and Donovan talked about that in the past being an issue.
And he did mention, he did speak to that a little bit, and it was based on a 3-inch downpour rain.
Yeah.
Well, you could put a 12-foot culvert in there at the bottom of them hills, and it's not gonna take it away. And Donovan agreed. He said, you can't design a system for a 3-inch downfall or downpour rain. He said, it's just not feasible.
Not in areas like that, you can.
Great. Well, I guess that answers my question, thanks.
Any other comments on this? Okay. We need to approve that task order. Is that what we're looking at right now? Can I get a motion to approve that task order?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Elaine, would you do it?
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach,
Stan?
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
George.
Aye.
Chad.
All right,
Okay, the ayes have it. Any opposed? None, so motion carries to, let's pay that task order. Okay, moving on to the next item.
The last thing I have is that Highway 8 shared use path project, just an update on that. It looks like the light fixtures for those poles are now pushed back to April 10th.
Don't you want to just give yourself a couple months on that?
I'm pretty sure that's why Donovan chose not to be here today.
Maybe just put June on there right now?
Hopefully this one's right. I know Donovan said they've had issues in the past with that company supply chain.
Well, anytime you try to guess when this stuff is coming, that's what it is, and nobody's gonna be able to put a date on something like that because you're at their mercy. That's just the way it is. So. Do you have anything else?
Not unless you do, nope.
Any
Just
other
a-
questions?
I guess just a couple comments. When Donovan and I went and took that tour on there, we did talk about some certain things. One was the trees, potential trees that are gonna be impacted, that we visited about that we need to be well ahead of that, more so than a week. So distinguishing which ones, what, if they're trim or if they're cut down. The landowner is a direct contact, not a flyer in the mail or a ad in the paper. The other thing we talked about was the curb heights, lessons learned, I guess you could call it, from this last project. That they will be no higher than the existing curb that's there. So if that means we have to lower the road 6 inches to make that work with the new fill and the new whatever, that's part of the project. Boulevards.
And I think we should, not be so firm on that as the lowering the road 6 inches or whatever to match that curb. But if we do that, we have to at least accommodate so that the curb and the sidewalk, work together. You know, so whatever that takes, I don't think you should necessarily say lower the road, because that's not always,
No, and I guess I didn't mean it that we would just lower them, but if that was the viable option to
right.
fix that, then we'd go with that. If the viable option was to split that difference so that it works with the sidewalk, so it's a not so drastic
It may be,
decline.
a lot of times it may be cheaper to replace the sidewalk than
Right.
grade, you know.
And we did talk about that too, you know, just to explore whatever it takes so that we don't have that conundrum. Boulevards would be removed, not repurposed. It's gonna be scraped and
I agree 100% with that.
new dirt brought in. The ramping coming onto sidewalks, we're not gonna affect 6 panels of new sidewalk. We're gonna affect the very minimal least amount, even if it bumps up to that, maybe a degree past what ADA is recommending, because there is no federal money into this project. And then landowners that are asking for a new apron, like what we saw in a couple of these, they need to be getting with Amanda prior to 1 week before the project, because that's not fair to hold our contractors hostage until Jane Doe decides if she wants to spend the money on an apron or not. This is what you're gonna get if you don't have it done by this time. And there was one other thing that we talked about.
I got services on here.
Oh yeah, the shared services, they will be designated to what lot they go with.
Right.
And the other property owner that's teed into that shared service, the responsibility is gonna be theirs to get it from their home to the connect point of the city.
Right.
We will not allow a shared service of water or sewer.
Right.
Did I miss anything, Casey?
I see mailboxes. That's
Yeah,
important
well,
to you.
and that was between the two of us. There's really nothing that we have. Postal Service pretty much dictates that until we write an ordinance. And we chose not to pursue an ordinance about 1.5 years ago on that.
Okay, anything else, Casey?
I don't think so. I think that's everything.
Well, thank you for doing.
Thank you.
Okay, Andy, DOT progress bill, shared use pathway.
So this would be the city's share of the shared use path, and of course, anything that would be out of the DOT's right away, street lights, et cetera. So this payment, the progress payment is for $6,088.32.
Does this pay this in full now?
It doesn't say final on it, so I don't believe it is. I did check to confirm that that is exactly what we've paid thus so far, was the $102,631.33. I do believe initially it was up to what, 100, no. Was it 130 or 140? I believe. Or am I wrong, Zach? Can you recall?
I don't remember the numbers. I don't think final payment will be made to the contractor until those lights
The
are
lights are
done.
I suppose.
So it'll be sometime after that that we get our final.
Move to pay.
Okay, there's been a motion to pay the,
Second.
okay, and a second. Lynn, could you please do a roll call?
Lauren?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Motion carries, all approved, so. Moving on to the next thing. Plant consulting, Verizon equipment on water tower. This is basically just, they're fixing their equipment there and they want the permission to do it. Is that
Correct.
correct?
There's already existing equipment. Motion to approve.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, pledged securities.
And this is just kind of a formality, something that the council needs to approve twice a year.
I'd make a motion to approve the pledged securities.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Alin, would you please do a roll call?
Lauren?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Okay, gaming permit.
Just the previous to that, the 2022 gaming report.
Oh, that's, all right, yep, sorry.
Don't need an official motion for this, but it is kind of something, a standard formality that used to be conducted quarterly. After there was a change on the gaming committee, we never received like the quarterly reports like the council, like you were supposed to. Sorry, like you're supposed to. I did, and they have now actually changed how they do this. So the gaming is still from the Kenmare Vets Club, and that would be for the beach bar and the 5-spot. And they do, obviously, they, donate those funds out for the community. So each bar now, both the beach bar and the 5-spot, actually, the applications are submitted to them, they review them, they kind of make their recommendation to Kenmare Vets, and then they distribute the funds. And then that's where the report came from. And so this is just so that the council kind of sees what's being donated out to the community. So
Okay.
it's just kind of, we just state that the council received it and reviewed it.
Okay. Okay, the gaming permit.
Gaming permit for the Montreal County Farm Bureau. Would be a restricted event permit. This would be for a poker tournament on March 11th. And this would be conducted at the beach bar. That's part of the poker chip chasing run. Yes, thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion carries. Okay, the next application is Brady Rodenizer one. The Leader Bar and Grill, and it's for a benefit for Nate Wyrock.
Motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed, motion carries. And that is all of them, right? Okay. Special event liquor license. Yeah, we did, so, okay, sorry. Police committee report. And with that, I'm going to announce that Linda has resigned from the police committee. So there will be somebody chosen, but I don't know yet who, so.
I have the committee minutes here. We met yesterday. We had some discussion held on the Lexipol subscription, just kind of a brief overview. Lexipol is a policy service you can pay for, and there's different tiers. There's, tier 1 through tier 5. Tier 5 is the Rolls Royce, but we have decided to go for a little bit cheaper option for the tier 1, and the cost on that is $9,865.89 for the first year. And then the following year's annual cost will be $6,805.89. Just policy writing program for police with access to updated constitutionally correct policy with consistent updates and current legislation. So this helps us with majority of the state, majority of the state uses this policy or uses Lexipol to do this. And we think this will give us the legal assurance that, our policy is written appropriately for our needs. We do have this will be for a year subscription, and then each subsequent year is, $6,800. So we, as a committee, felt that this would be good surety for our department to incorporate this. So I don't know if we need to vote on that now or not. So that is the recommendation of the committee. We need to act on that right now.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
There's a recommendation to purchase basically the, what's that called, Lexipol?
Lexipol.
Make the motion.
Second. Okay, motion and a second. We probably should do a,
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
George.
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
without, I guess, I don't know if you mentioned the price to them, did you? That it was $10,000 the first year and
Yeah,
$6,000.
it's $98.65 and 89 cents for the first year.
So,
And then it's $3,000 less. There's that initial $3,000 cost built into the upfront. And then each additional year is $6,805.89 for each subsequent year. And we do have the option to move up or down if we want more coverage. Like I said, there's tier 1 through tier 5. We're looking at tier 1. Each of the different tiers, we've decided, if the need comes up, chief can bring it forward and we can address it if we have extra needs that we think need to be covered. Okay, moving on. There's been some discussion held on overpayment of officers, and the committee had recommend forgiving the difference of the salary and the request with no payback on that. So we had some discrepancies in the pay scale here the last, I don't know which pay period it was, but we felt it wasn't pertinent to hold that against the officers. So that was the committee recommendation for that. You need a vote?
yeah, we do need a
Okay.
vote on that. So, okay, did everybody get what Ty said? And you know what we're talking about, so, we need a roll call vote on accepting, well, we need a motion first to pay or that we're forgiving that overpayment of their wage for that pay period.
So moved. I'll make-
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Alin, please.
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
All right,
Okay. Motion carries with all in favor. So,
And then we had some discussion held on the current pay and the salaries, and we had some discussion back and forth, and the committee had recommended changes to the current employee handbook and salaries for the officers as follows. Officers are to move to an hourly rate for Chief Jamerson, $35 an hour and 90 cents. Officer Jenkins, 31.19 per hour. Officer Thomas, 25.13 per hour. Officer Wilson, 25.13 per hour. Officer Metz, 22.43 per hour. The recommendation of the committee is officers will receive full benefits after meeting 160 hours per 128 days and overtime after 171 hours per 28-day period. So to be clear, they're made full as far as the benefits go at 160 hours. They'll be paid the hourly rate at 160. That same hourly rate will continue on to 171, and at 171 hours on 28-day pay period, it will then qualify for overtime after the 171 hours. Everybody clear on that?
everybody get that pay scale?
May I ask one question, please? So the hourly wages you have here, you base that off the 171, correct?
Yep.
Okay, because when I did it, I got a little different, like Jamerson would have been 35.99. So it's a few of them are like a few cents off.
So, and that was with the rounding, I guess, when we had looked at it, because 28 days into the whole year, and like 13 point something, so it doesn't equal a whole, so it was just a very simple rounding.
Okay.
Whereas you probably went a couple digits more, so.
Okay, that's why I just wanted clarification on that so that I make sure I know I'm using the correct figures. So, okay.
I mean, what,
I mean, what numbers do you have for them?
I didn't write them down. Like I said, I just know like Demetrius says, I come up with 35.99. So that's like I said, some of them were just anywhere from probably like 5 to maybe 8 cents difference,
I guess my
give or
2 cents,
take.
square it up to whatever it should be exact with all the decimal places. Is that a fair statement?
yeah, figure it out and round it to the nearest penny. Then you're completely accurate. You won't
It's
have
based
a
on
rounding error.
171.
It's either 8 cents or 7 cents or 9 cents or 8, I mean, a 9 cent swing, there's substantial rounding there to get to 9 cents. You should be able to, the third number in your decimal point is going to tell you if it's 5, it's a penny up. If it's 4, it's where it's at. And then I think another thing to help clarify this is we need to quit using the word salary. Hourly people are not salary. There's no salary involved with an hourly paid person. They have a base rate. That's their hourly rate. And they get paid in overtime is time and a half based on that base rate. I believe that we, up until tonight, when we approve this by the looks of it, we will have one, at this point in time, we will have one salaried person, and that is going to be a Lynn, to where, is Amanda your salary too? Okay, so we have 2 then. But that will clarify. I know Zach and I were totally flustered at the last employment meeting. I think Linda was right there beside us. It was like, what are we talking about? We don't have salaried people. We have base rated hourly people and we have salary. So that will help.
Everybody under the understanding of what's happening then? And clear on it? Okay,
So I'll make the motion contingent upon Elizabeth's numbers based off of 107 more hours or 12 days.
Okay, is there a second?
Okay, so
to
you
that?
guys, just for clarification, you guys are good then with going with the figures that I got? Okay, okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second's been made. Lynn, please.
Okay, sorry, and before we do roll call, I guess I have one more question. So obviously, we want to make more clarification in the employee handbook on this, correct? So if I kind of come up with something, get it, pass it on to the attorney to review and just bring it back to council for next month, just for final approval for the change in the handbook.
I think that's appropriate.
That'll work.
Okay.
If you could have it in time for the committee to see, I think, prior
Okay.
to the council, so that there's at least a hot minute for them to kick it around.
Okay. And I mean, I'm not gonna change, we're probably not gonna change it a lot, just a little more clarification on that whole 171 hours so that everybody's on the same page. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Okay, with a unanimous vote, motion carries.
And that's one of the stuff that needs council approval. I'll just breeze through the rest of the minutes if I may. We had a little discussion on the 2016 vehicles. We had discussion held on a formal review of Chief Jamerson to complete his 6-month probationary period, which I believe expires on February 22nd. Is that the right date? Discussion held on the SRO officer and the upcoming trainings. We had some discussion held on a formal complaint and disciplinary action and additional trainings. That is the police committee report.
Okay, I have one question. So now on Demetrius's 6-month probation period, you said that is up at the end of the month?
Mhm.
Okay, so I know initially when he was approved to be chief, recommendation and approved by council was to set him at 80,000 and he get a $2,000 increase after a 6-month probation. So are you guys gonna,
I think committee's still gonna hold a review with him prior to
and
that
then
date.
bring it up at the March
Yep.
meeting?
Is
Then
that what I
have,
recall?
Yep.
That's what I recall.
okay,
Okay,
thank you.
all right, that is our report. Thank you.
Okay, police report.
That pretty much covered everything that I was gonna discuss. I guess the only additional thing is the SRO did start on February 1st, was her official first day in schools. And so far from the school and the kids inside the school, feedback's been very positive. She has already had a couple cases that she's gotten in the school. Her training is set up, I believe it was the beginning of June. So she has signed up for that. And that'll be her basic SRO training, and then we'll be signing her up for the training in Fargo in August. That was the only additional thing I had to that.
How long is that training for again?
I believe it's a week. And I think that's all I have for that.
Okay, any questions for Demetrius? Okay, thanks. Has everybody looked over the police report?
I move
Right.
to approve the police report.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, there's a motion to approve the police report.
Second.
And a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, Public Works report.
Okay, Public Works, we met concerning the Public Works Director, and we also met on that same line of business on the Employment Committee. Both committees had the same recommendation At this point in time, we have not had the application that completely fits the job description of what we're looking for. But with that said, the recommendation from both committees is to place Brady Odness as an interim director. And so that we have that contact person, that one leader, if you will, for the department, so that they can establish work schedules and task schedules and things of that nature. Along with that, we realize that there's an increase in job responsibilities because he is going to be asked to be at the council meeting as Curtis was when he was with us, and explain, their monthly goings on. Along with that, we felt that it was only prudent to give him an increase in pay. And the numbers that both committees came up with and settled on was based on a $65,000 a year base, figured against the 40-hour work week. Also to have a meeting with Brady to explain to him the expectations of the Public Works group as far as, what we expect from him, whether it's a weekly report or just the report to the council at the end of, or at the council meeting each month. And then also explain to him that, we still are going forward with looking for that perfect fit that we think we should be able to find out there. It's necessary for the city to have somebody in a director role, even if it is interim, so that scheduling and things like that are maintained and coverage is there. So that was the recommendation of both committees, was to list Brady Odness as a interim public works director and a base wage set at derived from $65,000 annually, effective immediately.
I do have one question. So does that mean then he would be exempt from any overtime?
No, we chose the $65,000 so that we could maintain him on an hourly rate, so that it was just status quo with what he's used to with his payments, with his, whatever he's got set up.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on that? Because we'll need a motion then to approve both him as interim and the salary increase. Can we make that one motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second's been made. Do a little roll call on this.
Lauren? Aye. Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
All right.
With all in favor, the motion carries. Chad, anything else?
Yeah, also the Public Works, if you remember back a few months ago, we talked about a locator that needs to be replaced within Public Works, and I believe we approved it at 13,000 or something like that to replace that equipment. We did receive a quote from Subsurface, and it's for an RD 8200, which is radio detection equipment. It is the premier locating equipment. It just has all the bells and whistles. And with the locating issues that everybody has, it is the only way to go. And it's the quoted price is $8,046 plus the tax. And they will send an individual out to place that in service and train the people that are going to use it. So,
And training?
yeah.
Okay. Because that is important on locator.
So the recommendation of the Public Works was to purchase that.
Okay, a motion and a second's been made. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion carries.
So the next thing we had on our list at the Public Works Committee was the water break up on 5th Street again. It broke on a Saturday. They worked on it till dark Saturday night, and it got too dangerous to be in the hole working, so they had to finish the job on Sunday. What they found was 2 water breaks, actually. They fixed the first one, charged the line, and 6 feet away, it was leaking in that spot also. So once they uncovered that, they also found a broken sewer line there. So that following, or that next day on Sunday, they repaired the second water break and the sewer leak. So that's all put back together. We did, as a committee, kind of have some issues with leaving people out of water for that extended day. We do think that we need to make whatever effort there is to get, at a minimum, get that water turned back on in that same day. Obviously, there's extenuating circumstances that are going to come up to where you can't probably do it. But
OSHA dictates, safety rules.
right. So you fight with it and you do what you can. One thing that we did talk about as a committee is a power plant, if you will, or a light plant with a generator equipment on there. So that maybe if it was only 2 hours that night into the dark and they can get that repair made, it's safe because they have the proper lighting. They can do the ingress and egress of the hole. They can do the shoring. They're not fumbling around with a hand light. And we thought as a group that it would be prudent to research a light plant and get something like that purchased for these guys so that they have the proper equipment to be doing their job.
So that's a recommendation of the committee?
Yeah. To purchase one.
Okay, there should be
We don't have I didn't get a dollar figure, but.
because there's so many different ones that go from a Cadillac to a Ford, But I think generally they're gonna run about $10,000.
10 to 12, I know it's a little bit apples and oranges, but my son-in-law just bought a used one for their water well business, and that come with a 10 kW generator built into it.
Yeah.
And I think they paid $6,000 for it.
Yeah.
So to get it into perspective, you could probably look at 12,000 for.
Yeah, they're 10 to 12. Okay. That's okay.
Second.
Motion and a second's been made. Alin, please.
Lauren?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
Okay, motion carries with all approved. So,
One last item, and we've talked about it a few times, I guess I probably could save it for council concerns, but the snow parking sign needs to have business hours on it, 8 to 5 or something, instead of just.
It does have.
Does it now? Okay. Must
Yep.
have just got it on there.
One thing I was gonna ask is when are those blinking signs gonna be there for the school?
I don't think they planned on installing those until the ground is obviously thawed. So
But
this spring.
there's no
I think
wiring
they
or
can
anything, is there?
replace the sign, the idea was to replace the sign with the sign. They shouldn't have to
There's no wiring.
change the mounting, it's so.
No.
I guess I'm not sure
I'll
what.
check with Brady on that
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, I don't
Okay.
know the exact details of the signs.
process.
Well, I'd like to see those up as soon as possible.
We'll put that on this list. And that's all we had that I had notes. I apologize for not getting that to Lynn so that it could be in your packet to review.
Okay, that's it, Chad?
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to attorney updates. Are there any updates from the
Yeah.
attorneys?
One thing I wanted to draw the council's attention to is Officer John Tromsett. We needed to discuss his termination because his position is that he wasn't given proper notice by the council before being terminated. And obviously, our position is that notice was never required. But just for the sake of the record, I wanted to have Officer Jamerson come and talk about his understanding of what his conversation was with the mayor about Officer Tronset's termination, and then have the mayor discuss his understanding as well.
Okay. We can do that.
So I don't remember the exact date. But it was discovered that Officer Tronset left his patrol vehicle unlocked with the police department issued firearms inside the vehicle, as well as the PD issued computer and body cam and the keys for the vehicle. All that was unsecured inside the vehicle. At that time, I notified the police committee and the mayor was notified. The next day, the mayor had notified me that I was to give him two options: to resign or to be terminated. And that was the discussion.
Okay. Anything else?
No, nothing else.
Okay. That's exactly the way I remember it. And I was notified that evening when he picked up the car. And the next morning, I was here early and visited with Chief Jamerson about it. And at that point, he did not even know that the car was missing, as far as I know. But I did instruct Chief Jamerson at that point to give him two options, either resignation immediately or to fire him immediately. And that was the two options. I also instructed Chief Jamerson to tell him it was about the incident that happened with the car, nothing else. This was nothing from the past, nothing from, no opinions of ours. Just that it was about leaving the car unlocked and putting that liability on the city. Is that correct, Officer or Chief?
Yes, that's correct.
And that's how I remember it, but that is, I did not give him an option, the chief an option, other than to tell him that either he resigned or he was fired. That's it, I guess.
I think that should be good.
Any other updates?
I don't have any other updates unless anyone has any questions for me.
Not that we're aware of, so. Okay, we'll move on. Council concerns. Lauren.
I just have concerns about where the capital improvement project was and kind of where it meets up with the, worked on spaces, I guess. Like I look at the corner and it's, I drive every day, on first I think it would be, that where the new construction is in comparison to the old construction. Where the old construction and the new construction meet, it's just so bad, like so bad. The amount of water that accumulates there and then freezes is such an issue that I'm not sure if that's something that should have been looked at by them or not looked at, but I just especially hope that when the new one comes around that that's taken into account, because I can't imagine that we're setting up, those types of issues. I know it was an issue in the past, but you would think that maybe there wouldn't be such a high crown there that would make it all go to that side again, since there is no drainage. That seems to be.
Is that the intersection at the old post office at your
Yep.
work office?
Yep. It's
Oh my gosh, it was dark when I hit that thing. I like launched my little egg into the air. It was so bad. Just really, really, really bad. There's no drainage. It just accumulates water and it's bad. I mean, I even took some pictures if you guys wanted to see how terrible it is on that corner, just for it to be brand new construction that they brought all the way over. I mean, technically where the water sits, it would be new construction there. So it's,
Because I looked at it, I saw that there's a lot of water in that intersection, but I think the reason for it is exactly what you're saying. It's the new and the old came together, so the curb height and whatever on the old, it just, it's crowned right there to where it can't run south like it's intended to, and it's because of the new construction. Once the next phase is, or wherever that falls in the phase work, then that problem will be corrected. It's kind of an inevitable, you know, if we'd have known that was how it was gonna fall, we should have probably did the whole next block going south to the fire hall.
We know there's gotta be a cutoff point when you're doing construction like that. And we are gonna run into situations like that where there's elevation changes because of, you know, the way we do the streets and curbs. So you are gonna run into some situations where you have temporary water problems, you might say.
it's just so hard to make an issue worse in a spot if we're repairing one part that maybe we need to take into account, especially with the next one, that maybe it can't be such a drastic angle, because
Right.
if that's not going to be changed for 10 years, then
But I'm pretty sure that just got overlooked. You know, a lot of times that happens. I mean, because you're thinking of new construction and you're thinking it's gonna tie in with the rest, but it doesn't always tie in perfectly. But that next block does have to be done anyway.
Right, but that is not part of phase two.
It's not part of phase two, but we could look at some type of temporary fix there, so.
Theoretically, we could extend, we could add that to this phase, because it's just that one street that needs to be done, and then it ties back in. The Memorial Hall, that street's all tore up, so that's gonna have to be repaired at some point too, so.
Yeah.
And then once you got to that, then those 2 blocks of streets would complete that all the way down to the old Cenex building, which is new, going south, going east, and going west. So those 2 streets, we could easily add those, and it would roughly be an addition of, and don't write this down and cast it in stone, but it's approximately, for a street, curb and gutter with no water, no sewer, it's approximately $100,000 per block.
Right, but I'm not so sure that there isn't curb and gutter in that one street, so that's gonna have to be looked at.
Right, but I mean, just to get you kind of a rough number, it's gonna be somewhere in that $300,000 mark to add those 2 streets if you don't do anything below surface. And then it could be prudent to do it.
I really don't have any comment because I haven't looked at that, so sorry, I don't understand, you know, exactly what the issue is there, but.
So
we
the
can definitely
intersection
look
at the
it.
old post office is
Yeah.
holding water. And it's always held water, and it's because of the crowd right there.
year though.
And I can't say that this is true for that intersection, but I know a lot of places in town right now, just because of the way the ice is built up, and I'm kind of ignoring some of that stuff just because until there's a clear path to the storm.
Yeah, it makes it
sewer,
worse.
you can't really tell what's gonna happen, but.
And there's probably something that we can do from the public works. They could probably go cut that gutter cut the ice with the blade and see if they can't help some of it get out. That's an option. But you're right, it holds a lot of water.
Anything else, Lauren?
And then the memorial building where they're doing that construction, I think I even drove by the one day because they just have a spray painted sign that says road closed. I think that they need to be coming to the city and requesting that we close the road for them. Or signage from Public Works. I had brought it up and they have not been requesting it, but they're literally just putting up a spray painted sign that has road closure on there.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine that
Amanda?
that actually closes the road.
If I may clarify, they did call the city.
Oh, they did.
They did get permission. I made sure that the Public Works knew. The Public Works did let them know that they could go and get those road closed signs. I believe, I don't know if they talked
They never
directly to
talked to
you.
me, but,
Okay. Oh, you did.
I spoke to Jack.
oh, yeah,
Um,
Lynn did, yeah.
Briefly discussed that.
Alin and Ada knew, so that if any phone calls came in, the police department was aware also. They also told me that the only time that that would have been closed would be purely for safety when the boom was actually running. When it was not, they would have that area open, and it would only be for that very limited amount of time.
So they expected us to deliver the signs for them, or they?
No, they just used those, but they had the option to go up to the old shop. Jean had showed them where they were at the old shop. I don't know why they didn't choose to use them, but they did have the option.
I'm just surprised they're allowed to just have a written sign like that. It doesn't seem like it provides any safety for our citizens to, I don't know, acknowledge a road closure sign that's just spray painted, so.
Well, I did it all the time. I mean, a lot of times, people wreck your signs or everything happens to your signs if the wind doesn't take them and in this country. So yes, I did have 4x8 sheets of plywood that said road closed on them, but they get the point because the road's closed.
And
You
that's
know,
what they used. They made little sandwich board signs, little A-frame signs that said road closed.
But I think as long as it gets a point across and it does warn people that the road's closed, I think, you know, they're trying to do their best to inform people.
They did also make sure that the crane was over towards the memorial building in the evening as far as it could be so that that was accessible. It was just, when you have a crane operator operating, you can't have cars driving by, sneaking by, weaseling their way by. Somebody's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
A wind gust, something like that, and you're going to be looking at, you know, AD&D insurance, accidental death and dismemberment
Trust me, I did the
insurance.
construction on the fire hall. And I don't care how many signs you have across the road. Somebody will try to get between them while
Well-
you're working out there with a loader.
And they already have. So
I'm not kidding you. You could easily back over somebody. You can't count on your signs for stopping people.
Yeah, it just seems a little better protection, at least if they had an official sign up there, especially if it's accessible to them and.
Well, on that job,
Painted one.
we had actually flashing lights and I did have official signs and they still drove around them up on the curb.
they drove around them, yeah. I think it comes down, and I apologize for being so frank, but I think it comes down to a level of respect of sometimes the people don't respect the fact that that is a dangerous intersection or area, that you shouldn't be driving around a road closed and up on a curb because you don't want to drive around the block. You
But-
could hurt yourself, you could hurt somebody else. That's
You-
just super
you try
dangerous.
You try to not close a road, you know, for any longer than you need it closed. But in reality, you'd probably be better for the whole term of construction to close the dang thing.
I have no issue with the road being closed. I think it's just the tacky signage that I've heard from multiple people with it being up. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm right off of there. People see it. I hear the complaints. I think that if we have the signage available, I don't see why in our small community, why we couldn't put up a sign just to make it look maybe even a smidgen better than a spray painted sign.
I guess I think the onus is on the construction company to protect the street. It's not our responsibility. Because then now you are becoming part of the project and I don't want to be any part of it.
We provided the no parking signs that they put up.
If they went and got them and put them up, that's their business. If they choose not to and something happens, that's also their business at that point.
It's their liability. Because as a contractor, the liability is on you when you close a road, whether I get permission from the city, which I did every time I closed it. The liability is still on you. So if you back over a car that's driven through there, you know, they'll say, should have been closed completely. And that's the bad part of that. So it is up to the contractor. There's no question about it. I mean, And maybe if a person walked up to him and asked him to put up better looking signs, maybe they would, you know. Hard to say. I wouldn't have, but some may have. Anything else? Zach?
Good.
Ty? Linda? George?
I just wanted to update everybody that I have a representative coming in to talk to Lynn this next week about the phones and conference options. And we should have some trials and some options and things by next month.
Okay. Anything else? Chad?
I have nothing.
Okay, with that,
Mayor, I just want to let the council know that I did receive a letter now from our audit firm, which is Rath and Mayer, and our audit will be conducted on March 6th, just so everybody's aware. And usually within 30 days after the audit is complete, then they send the report, and obviously you guys will all get a copy to review and approve, so.
okay. Judge's report, has everybody had a chance to see it?
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion to approve the judge's report, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign for opposed. Motion carries. Bills. Everybody had a chance to look over the bills. If so, can I get a motion to approve the bills for payment?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Alin, please.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries to pay the bills.
Sorry, just to let you know, George, you don't have a copy of it, but the rest of the council members, you'll see there is a letter there from the county, just as an FYI, so that you guys are aware that they are looking at possibly upgrading the truck route. So they have submitted a letter to the DOT to start the process anyway, so
Okay.
I'm just a courtesy thing that they sent to us, so.
Yep.
So just so that all the council members were aware.
With that said, anything else from anybody? If not, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Second.
And there's a second by Linda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned.